the DORK podcast with Rich Keefe. It's the DORK podcast and Davey. It's the DORK podcast. Hashtag. It's the hashtag DORK podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Hashtag Dork. My name is Rich Keefe, joined as always by Davey Eyeballs. He is Rick Rude Vaughn, Dick Dude. He is one half of the Sunburn Boys. He's one half of the Wayback Boys of podcasting. He's one half of the Party Boys. All hail the king of ginger ale. It's Ryan Davey. Davey, how are you?
Same as I was 30 seconds ago.
People might listen to these at different times, so they might
They're listening to different times. Yeah, I know, but we had just, we're double dorking it tonight, and I feel great about it.
I'm glad you brought that up, Davey, because if some people subscribe to the podcast and we think that you do, maybe this is the one that popped up, and you're like, wait a minute, 320. The last one I listened to was 318. Well, we just did a She-Hulk episode, for Christ's sake, so you can go back, episode 319, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, and you can listen to that great episode. And now I'm glad you're here for this one. As Ryan, let me dive right in, because we're not messing around. We're not wasting any time.
We're not fucking around tonight.
That's the last thing we're gonna do. I have a very important question for you.
Y'all ready for biz?
I guess so.
The second topic du jour.
Yeah,
well, I'm glad you asked. It's the topic of the day, and today it is Halloween Ends, the feature film that runs 1 hour and 51 minutes. It was released both in theaters and on Peacock. Currently on Roddy T's, 41% by the critics, 57% by the audience. I ask you, Ryan, as we begin all of our movie and TV reviews spoiler-free, Halloween Ends, did you like it?
No.
No. Me neither.
Nope.
Not to steal your take, but me.
Yeah, way to take snake me there.
Let me follow up. Let me do a quick follow-up to that.
Sure.
What in the actual fuck was this movie?
What in the actual fucking seven hells was this?
Was it a joke? Did we not get the right cut? Did we what was put out on Peacock kind of edited around a little bit and then given to the public way before it was ready, perhaps?
What person in what movie studio saw the final cut of this movie and was like, that's it. That's worth putting out.
Guys, we got it. Print, wrap. I would say this, Ryan, and I've thought about this quite a bit.
Yeah.
This is the worst Halloween movie ever made. And that's saying something. As a fan of the whole medium, the whole franchise, I understand there are some giant turds in this punch bowl that is Halloween. Very top heavy. Well, actually, you have the one perfect film, which is what got us into this mess, which is what spiraled off 12 other movies. So there's 13 movies in Halloween. In, like, if you want to call it the Halloween franchise, this version of it is really just 4, right? Because they took the original and then they did their trilogy, and that's the only connection that there is. This is the fucking worst one, and it's incredible that so many other bad ones can be made, and not only did they not learn from those mistakes, but they kind of piggybacked off of a few. They borrowed some of the ideas. They made it worse. It was it was like shockingly bad.
Now, let me ask you this. So what you're saying is that there are 13 Halloween movies.
Yep.
Halloween H2O is in that mix. Yep. There is a Halloween movie without Michael Myers in it.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that this is the worst one.
Halloween 3 Season of the Witch has no Michael Myers. It's better. Give it a rewatch. It's fucking weird, but give it a rewatch. Better than this. The worst one prior to this was probably Halloween 6, the one with Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle, like a grown-up Tommy Doyle. That one's a mess. That one wraps up the Jamie trilogy, 4, 5, and 6. 6 stinks, but I think this one's worse. I think, and also this one,
and I just wanted you to say that because you're right.
Thank you. It's amazing. And I'm serious. Like, his 6 stinks. You can, Resurrection, where fucking Busta Rhymes like karate kicks him or whatever. That one stinks. This is worse, and it also deserves more blame for coming out after these ones and sort of knowing what didn't work in a Halloween movie or a Michael Myers movie, and then kind of pumping some of that same shit in there. And what a steady decline, because the first one came out.
It wasn't a steady decline. So like this is what I was going to say next. So I will disagree with you slightly there. So you had the original Halloween, which is a perfect slasher movie, right?
Yep.
You have the first Danny McBride Halloween, good,
yes,
solid,
yeah,
right,
yep.
And then such a fucking crash and burn with these last two.
Yeah,
it's like almost on a Matrix level.
Ooh, yeah, good one. Yeah, it's a good point.
The first was so fucking good, and then you just shit your pants.
So
the last two movies.
I agree with you. I mean, I didn't like
Halloween Kills, you pissed your pants. Halloween Ends, you shit your pants. You have piss and shit in your pants right now.
Pissed and shit your pants. You pissed and shit your pants.
You pissed down your legs, you shit your britches. Back to back.
Yeah. Puked, pus, blood, urine.
Everything.
Semen.
Oh, a little.
Do you think you didn't cum your pants, but this is my unofficial rankings for the Halloween films. Because I didn't like Halloween Kills, but I didn't hate it as much as some. And this was so bad. So I would go the original. Everybody has the original one. I actually like Halloween 4 because I like Jamie a lot. So I would go Halloween 4, number 2, then Halloween 2, like the original Jamie Lee Curtis sequel. Then I would go the first of this run, the Danny McBride one. Then I'd go H2O. Then I would go Rob Zombie's original. And then I'd go Halloween Kills at 7, which might be high. But then I'd go Halloween 5, followed by Resurrection, followed by 3, followed by the second Rob Zombie one, which kind of sucked. Then I would go with Curse of Michael Myers, which is Paul Rudd. That's also Halloween 6. Then this one. This is the fucking worst one.
This is the worst. And I have so many things to say. And all of those are questions. All of those are questions about like choices that were made. And I have a theory.
I have questions as well. Oh, the other reason why, and this is all still spoiler free, the other reason why this movie really sucks and there's no excuse for it is this was planned. After they made the first one, they're like, we have two more coming out. It's called Kills and Ends. They're like, oh, so there's a plan here. Like they've thought about this.
Nope.
They would have more.
They had that in my mind. They had the titles. They didn't have a script. They just had titles.
You're probably right, because they would have had more of an excuse if like they made a movie and it was a surprise hit, and then they're like, you got to make a sequel. And they're like, well, we didn't plan for a sequel. It's like, no, they planned for one. They planned for this.
Mm-hmm.
Also, not only is the story completely fucked, and like most of the stuff, I would argue, not scary in the slightest.
Not a bit. And I would say the scariest thing, the most interesting thing happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie. That's it.
I agree. I think the beginning actually isn't that bad. And then they just fumble it away.
Mm-hmm.
I would even argue like the one thing with Halloween Kills, is there's so many like over the top crazy deaths. So like if you're at least going for that entertainment value of it, that movie has it. This one doesn't.
Yep.
There's no like
zero.
Cool
There's two. There's 2 cool kills in the whole movie.
Yeah, and again, it's like an hour and 50 minutes too, which is probably longer than
super fucking long. So that's one of my theories. My theory was that they shot this movie. It was like a tight hour and 20-minute movie, and they were like, "You got to make it longer."
Something, because it does seem like multiple scripts. They're like, hey, 3 people write 3 different movies, and you will
and there's like there's weird scenes that just seem like shoehorned in that don't have anything to do with the plot.
Yeah.
And you're just it was literally it's like a 30-second scene.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, it makes no sense. The story is trash. The characters too, like there's no cool characters.
How do you call a movie Halloween Ends and add a new character?
No, which we'll get to. I even was like, man, I haven't seen the first 2 in this trilogy in a while, so maybe that person doesn't exist. Hard to call this a must watch. Obviously, I know it's the spooky season. I know it's Dorktober, but like, find something else. Watch Terrifier. So the last episode,
watch Terrifier.
Davey mentioned Terrifier or Terrifier 2. Watch those. Watch something else. I meant to mention, I didn't fucking mention this in the last episode, but Barbarian is going to be on HBO next week.
And that's supposed to be tits.
Supposed to be awesome.
Yeah.
But then I got to watch that, and then I can do my 2022 horror movie rankings, but I'm looking forward to that. All right, I'm curious on this one, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
What is your hashtag dork score for Halloween Ends?
It's a 2.
I'm
it's a
going
soft 2.
I'm going 1.
Soft 2 for me.
Fair. I'm going 1. It's the worst.
There's one thing that saved it. I'm going to tell you why I gave it a 2 when we get to spoilers.
Okay. I've been giving this a lot of thought because I think when I first turned
this is very difficult for you to give a 1. This is very difficult. Now I know how much you hated it.
Yeah. I've given Jupiter's Legacy. I think it's the only thing I've ever given a 1 to. And I was thinking about
finish that.
I'm like, if this is truly worse than Halloween 3, Halloween Resurrection, Halloween 2, the Rob Zombie one, and Halloween 6, it has to be a 1. And I actually thought about this movie a lot this weekend. And I'm
Dude,
like,
I just said that to Rye. I said it to my wife. We were going to dinner tonight, and I was like, this movie has been on my mind all day.
Yeah. It's
because I watched it last night. It's been on my mind all day.
Because I originally ranked it at the bottom, but not last for the movies. I've seen like 40, 50 movies that have come out this year. And I'm like, it's towards the bottom. And then the more I was thinking about it, like, no, it's fucking last. It's the worst movie I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I had more anticipation for this movie than like the other ones that were at the bottom. The other ones I just like watched because they were on. This one I wanted to see. And so that probably hurts it a little bit more. But I'm going to go 1. Davey's going 2. Anything else non-spoiler on Halloween Ends, which again is available on Peacock if you happen to have any kind of interest in it.
I don't give a shit about spoiling this movie for you. That's how much I didn't like it.
Right.
Spoilers! 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 Here come the spoilers!
All right, so I have 2 quick questions before I get to some of the notes that I actually took during this film. I don't normally do this, but I was like, I got to write some of this shit down because I'm going to forget. But what is it that saved it, made it a 2 instead of a 1 for you?
The first thing was the blowtorch death for the kid.
Yep.
That was pretty good.
Blowtorch death was good.
And like, fuck that. You know what? Fuck that Jeremy kid. I'm glad that happened.
So
that kid.
The opening scene kill.
Yeah.
It was actually a pretty good start, and you're wondering where they're going to go with it because they flash back to 2019 and they're like, all right, it's 1 year after Michael came back and wreaked havoc. So like people in Haddonfield are like aware of this guy again, and a guy's babysitting whatever, and it's a whole fucking run around, and it's like, oh, he's locked in, he's whatever, kicks the door. The way he violently snapped down and he felt like 4 stories and smashed his head. That was
like he bent like backwards, like in half. Like fuck that kid. That kid sucked.
That was the funniest part of the whole movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were going for laughs or gasps or what they were going for, but I laughed at that.
Yeah. And how about him getting the so funny story. Why I kind of chuckled at that. So a friend of the podcast, The Fridge, who we were at a bachelor party, and I thought he was peeing in we were in a gentleman's club in Atlantic City, and he was peeing in a stall, not at a urinal. And so I was trying to do the thing where I kicked the door so it hit him in the ass, and he kind of like he would pee all over himself.
Of course, classic.
Problem was he was done and he was turning around, and I kicked the door and it hit him right between the fucking eyes. And he just stared. So having Corey kick the door, hit Jeremy, and hit him right between the fucking eyes just like sent me somewhere. I was just laughing my ass off.
It was funny.
Yeah.
My other question is, what were you hoping for in this movie? Because the way the last one ended, they really made him over the top, like unkillable, like possessed. But again, the whole idea of this trilogy compared to the other ones is they were like, Laurie Strode is not related to Michael Myers in any degree. So any kind of connection they have, they kind of punted on that. So I'm curious, what were you even hoping they would do?
So what I was hoping for is like Halloween Ends. So like in my mind, like if you and I were writing this movie, I would start like backward design. I would be like, how does this movie end? Right. And so for me, there has to be this realization from Laurie that's like the people are right. Like part of him is because of me, and because part of me is because of, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's this symbiotic relationship. So in my head, I was like, this makes sense if both of them go. And she does it in order to save her granddaughter. Like, I don't want you to live the life that I did. I have to do this. Like, the only way he's going to go is if I go.
Yeah.
Her not dying is crazy. It's crazy. And I think so. Rye brought up a good point. So I brought this up to Rye. I'm like, see, how I would have done this is like it's called Halloween Ends, and it has to end with Laurie Strode, right?
Yeah.
And she said, I bet they did that and it didn't test well.
And then they punted on it.
And then I was like, that's actually a pretty good point.
It makes zero sense for her to survive, because in reality, now she's just another one of like many victims that these kind of like run into, right? Like, she's only special in our mind because we've seen her in other movies and because we loved the original. Like,
but she also did nothing in this movie. She didn't even have to be in this movie.
Well, guess what? Guess who wasn't in this movie? Michael Myers.
At all.
Michael Myers. So Jamie Lee Curtis was barely in the last 2 movies. She wasn't in Halloween Kills like at all.
No, because she was like laying in the hospital bed. But even this one, she was even more insignificant because she's basically the narrator. And the whole thing she's talking about is like letting go and like, moving on from evil. And I think that was setting up a way that like her granddaughter would like publish that book and like live off the royalties and have a better life. Like, she was doing this so her granddaughter could not have the life she had. You put a bow on it, like it or not. That's the way it ends.
What was frustrating to me was you have one of the great movie characters of all time, and you're claiming that it's Halloween Ends. He's barely in the movie,
and you make him a fucking Ninja Turtle.
Yep, lives in the sewer, and he's shitty. He's just been like living there for 4 years. And
but here's what doesn't make sense. So like the way that they kind of argue that away is like, all right, he gets stronger the more people he kills, right? But yeah, 2 movies ago, he was in a insane asylum for 40 years and he was fine.
Right.
So that doesn't make any sense.
In Halloween Kills, he kills like 1 million people. You think it was frustrating as hell. So the movie, again, the opening scene, actually not bad, maybe the only redeeming part of it, but then it just goes downhill from there. They have the narration where they basically sum up all the other movies. So they give like a montage, which is kind of classic Halloween. You watch Halloween 5 and 6, they basically, the beginning of those movies just recaps the movie before. Like,
and they did it.
They insult the audience. So like, you don't remember anything about this character, so we're gonna tell you like a fucking previously on a television show.
And I was so annoyed because they did it in that like 80s movie Ski Mountain way, where it's like a radio DJ talking to you as if anybody listens to like music radio anymore.
By the way, how many 94.9 mentions were there? The radio station was a bigger character in this than Michael Myers. They
exactly.
had like bumper stickers. They had people listen. Everybody listened to the same station in the whole town.
That's what I'm saying. And it was like
the station at one point.
And it was like, like the 80s ski movies where like the PA like, oh, like, here he goes. Like the ski patrol is going to be racing these ragtag bunch. And you're just like,
gosh.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, but that was actually a hockey episode. But yeah, they did They did that on It's Always Sunny. They did it on South Park. They did those ski ones. The other thing I don't like in movies is when they have like high school bullies that are so over the top mean that they're not even realistic at all.
Not only that,
they were band geeks.
They were fucking non-binary band nerds. Like, can you think of a group of people that would less likely to be bullies than like gender neutral fucking band kids? Like, I will the nicest kids you will ever meet. And what the fuck, like, by the way? Yeah. And like they're beating them up with drumsticks. Like, what the fuck is this? And not only like, what is with Haddonfield is in Illinois, right?
Yeah.
Everyone had a different fucking accent. We had like Southern accents, and the kid bully, like the band geek who was like abused by his dad, would have like this weird New York accent. Like, where the fuck is this?
Real melting pot.
Like everyone and like what's the old cop there? By the way, that guy looking rough. By the way,
who Bill Paxton?
Not Bill Paxton. It's not Bill Paxton, but it's
is it
Will something? Will Patton? Is it Will Patton?
Oh, it might be Will Patton. Yeah, not Will Paxton. Let me take a peek ski.
I think it's Will Patton.
Cast.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. Will Patton. Yeah, Will Patton.
That guy looks like 2 miles of torn up road. And what was the shit about the cherry blossoms? Like, what the fuck are we talking? What is that? And that's the last line of the fucking movie. Tell me about those cherry blossoms.
Should I commit suicide or eat cherry blossoms?
Oh my god. We're jumping all over the place now, but like Jamie, the big twist is that like she wasn't going to commit suicide, and then she goes to Corey. She goes, "You really didn't think I was going to commit suicide, did you?" And he's like, "No, that's why I'm here. Like, I wanted to kill you. Like, I didn't think you were going to commit suicide. That's why I'm here."
Bill Paxton, by the way, Bill Paxton, Will Patton,
Yes.
who played the cop in this. He was in the last couple of movies because he apparently was on the scene. They kind of like retconned it, right? Where he arrested Michael Myers, like originally when Michael Myers was a kid.
Yes.
One part, it's got nothing to do with like whether the movie's good or bad, but when he's talking to Laurie in the grocery store,
oh my God,
how unruly is it to take a package of meat and fire it into your cart like that?
You don't do that.
You don't do that because like the chances of it like leaking or coming out of the plastic, go back and watch it. He fires the meat. He like grabs it from the guy's like, thanks. And then he chucks it down. I'm like, that's all burger. You don't do that. I place the meats and the chickens and everything like gently into the basket.
Sure do. And then by themselves. So they don't no cross contamination.
I won't touch them.
The other thing too, every interaction human to human in this movie was so fucking awkward.
It's really strange.
So awkward. And there was that scene where Corey's mother kisses him and then slaps him, or slaps him and then kisses him.
Yeah.
And then he's just standing there, and his like the weird junkyard stepdad goes, I hope you find love. And that's the end of the scene.
That was it.
What the fuck was that?
We're like, hey, good one. Good cut.
So the scene I was talking about earlier, the one that was just kind of just planted, is when Laurie meets with Corey's mother.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no explanation of how she got there. There's no reason for her being there. And then she just like brings up the fact of like, well, he's fucked up because you're fucked up. And she's like, okay, bye.
And then leaves.
And that's the end of the scene.
That was it.
And it's like 30 seconds long.
Stinks. And so you get the costume party. So Laurie's granddaughter, Allison, takes Corey to the bar costume party.
And I'm sorry, I know I have a lot of questions, but like, were you super fucking confused how like he got his hand cut? They never explained that they were together until like halfway through the movie.
It's like shotgun. So basically what happened is Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, finds Corey at like the 7-Eleven or whatever after he gets beat up by the band kids. So he's cut, his hands cut, and then he's like, "Oh, Allison works at like a hospital or whatever. I'm gonna bring you there and like play like matchmaker." So they didn't even know each other until Laurie brought him in there.
But then it's like they go to this party and then they're together.
Yeah, then she's like, "Oh, let's go to this party together." She makes them a fucking scarecrow outfit. All right, let's rate the Halloween costumes. What would you give her cat costume?
Like a fucking 0. Because they're like, oh, you got to be not a Halloween costume unless it's sexy. And it's like, she's just wearing a fucking mask.
That's it. And then he goes scarecrow, like paper plate over his face. And then he takes the paper plate off. And then he sees the mom of the kid that he killed, but she got away with. They kind of gloss over that. There was actually something.
Well, they call it, they mentioned it's aggravated manslaughter, but it's only been a year. So like he couldn't have gone to jail for that. Because that's like that's a minimum sentence of like whatever. I don't even know.
No, it's been 3 years, I think, because he did
whatever.
He did that. It doesn't matter. But
so they get in a fight after the Halloween party, Allison and Corey.
Yeah.
And the whole time she's just has her arms like completely extended, palms up.
Yeah.
And then she's like holding her arms like straight out, like they're gonna play like that slap game.
Oh, I love that slap game.
And then he like runs away and she just brings her hands slowly like over her eyes. It's the fucking weirdest thing I've ever seen. She's just like, she like holds her hands out and she's like crying, like straight out, like she's holding 2 books.
But
and
also
then just goes like,
this is another pet peeve of mine in movies is when characters like barely know each other, but they act like they've been married for like 3 years or like in a relationship for like 3 years. Like they barely know each other.
But then like, and then like Laurie's talking about how she introduced them. Like it happened a while ago. Like the timing of it is just so fucking weird. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Outside of the opening montage thing where they're like recapping the movies, I checked the timestamp on this. At what minute mark do you think we finally get Michael Myers?
I think it's got to be. I'm probably overshooting it, but I might not be. I think it's like 35 to 40 minutes in.
40 minutes in,
and you just see his face. Like it's not.
I was gonna say 40 minutes, and you barely get him, and you get the scene, which is as confusing as anything, where Michael Myers is living in a sewer. And Corey stumbles into the sewer and they lock eyes. And Michael Myers looks into Corey's eyes,
sees himself,
sees himself as well as Corey's past, as if he's like Professor X and he's like a mutant now. And he's like, oh, this guy's like me and I'm going to let him go. So Michael Myers, who's only killed people for as long as you can remember, is now like, this guy I see, I get it. So then Corey wakes up from this little incident, finds a bum outside walking around, stabs that guy to death.
Who claims he's Michael Myers, by the way.
Which was a good line. He's like, I'm Michael
Right.
Myers. So he stabs him to death. And then to get rid of the murder weapon, he chucks it like 10 feet. He's like, yeah. I'm like, they're going to find that knife.
And then he tells Allison, I killed somebody.
Yeah.
And then an hour later into the movie, she's surprised to learn that he killed somebody. He's like, he fucking told you to your face.
No, he's pretty honest about it. Also, Corey and Allison on the motorcycle without helmets. What are they, New Hampshire?
Seriously.
What's
You
this?
don't live free or die. And by the way, like, you just don't pick up a motorcycle. Like, I love how he's trying to like explain the motorcycle to her, and he like fucks it up. And also, like, it was so clear. Like riding a motorcycle, your arms do this. Like it was so clear that they weren't like a motorcycle that because their hair wasn't blowing in the wind and they were just like dead straight.
Just smooth ride.
Just smooth sailing on a shitty old motorcycle. Yeah.
Can you explain to me, as somebody, a guy smarter than me?
Sure.
Corey and Michael Myers are best friends, or are they? What's the relationship here?
Well, that's the thing. So, like, there's this weird: is Corey going to be the new Michael Myers? Because there's that whole weird conversation about how Michael Myers disappeared, but the town needed a new Michael Myers. So here's this kid who killed someone by accident, who did something that Michael Myers wouldn't do, because the kid actually says he doesn't kill kids; he kills babysitters.
Right.
So he does the opposite of what Michael Myers does, but yet they're the same. So the town needed to like unite and hate this person.
Yeah.
Which is a bad thing. But then they do that at the end anyway, they crowd surf Michael Myers over their head, like Spider-Man 2.
Or
like,
or the angry mob crowd thing they did in Halloween 5. And then didn't they do the radio stuff?
In Halloween Kills, they did the angry mob thing.
They did that too. Like, it doesn't work. You don't need to do that. So there's like on a drop of a hat, they're ready to get out there and march on it. But I just thought it was ridiculous. Like, that really, as crazy as the Corey Allison relationship was, the Corey Michael Myers one was even.
Well, that's the thing. So he initially grabs him, lets him go, and then like lets him participate in his, let's call it shenanigans.
Oh, here's a
but then kills him anyway.
Here what would have been a better version of the show, of the movie. Michael Myers exists. People know about Michael Myers. Let's take Corey, for example, because they already made this character. By the way, I had to like double check. I'm like, was he in Halloween Kills? You're like,
nope.
No, wasn't in it. They didn't reference him, even though they play in these two movies.
Brand new character.
Spanking new character. But here's what you should have set it up last movie, but you're too late. You have this guy kill people that he wants to kill or whatever, in the fashion of Michael Myers, to blame Michael Myers. And then when Michael Myers, even if he dies, this guy still just does the whole MO, and like Michael Myers lives on in this character. That's what you do. You don't have them be sort of like weirdo friends and trying to figure out what the motivation is or how they could possibly coexist. Like, I didn't need any of that.
It's called Halloween. And so like, but even then, like if you have someone who's the new Michael Myers, Halloween didn't end. You just continued it. You just made it to someone else. So like none of this makes any sense.
How about the doctor that Allison works for? He's like
probably the worst doctor I've ever seen. You know, talking fantasy football, you know, he's being rude to his staff in front of patients.
I don't like that. And
takes his gloves off incorrectly, by the way.
Not good.
Yep. After touching blood.
Kind of a Ime Udoka as well. There was like a
inappropriate relationship and some inappropriate workplace, and like promoting her because she's giving it up. That's not good.
You can't do that. Also, the radio station bit where you have like the one guy, the one DJ, that guy Willie that they like refer to all the time. Like, so he's on the air all the time. There's like a billboard of him, and he lives there or something, because he comes down like a random time. He's like, "Get off my property." I'm like,
he refers to himself in the third person.
You live at the station? I don't really get that. Yeah. So the Allison and Corey, like, they seem to be like fall in love after like a day. So that bothered me. The junkyard scene, kind of crazy. That's where you do get the blowtorch kill, at least.
Yeah.
So the blowtorch kill is not bad. They did end up cutting the radio guy's tongue out
and putting it on a record player, because who fucking plays records at a radio station?
So then we get this sequence late in the film. Corey attacks Laurie as Michael Myers because he now has Michael Myers' mask.
Right.
So he attacks Laurie. He then stabs himself and is like, well,
Does the old if I can't have her, nobody can, right?
So then Allison thinks that Laurie stabbed Corey, so she bails, and then Michael kills Corey.
But then
Michael, the real Michael Myers, shows up and kills him.
And Allison looks at Laurie as she's holding the knife, and she's like, "No, no, 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 no!" And she goes, "You!" and then runs out of the house.
Yep.
Like,
and then Michael Myers actually shows up. So he shows up apparently. Like he
knows mask because Corey has donned his mask now.
And he apparently
trying to be the new Michael Myers.
Apparently knew where he was going. So he's been hiding in the sewer for 4 years, but now he's decided to go after this guy. And so I didn't really get that whole scene. The whole scene was ridiculous. Laurie and Michael then have a big fight. And Laurie, it's just like a bit, like a little cut of the neck.
Yeah.
It's like a little wrist cut. And you're like,
it's a sharp knife. Full tang.
So Laurie ends up killing Michael, then straps him to the roof of her car, goes to the junkyard for the fifth. By the way, the junkyard is probably the only setting more common than the radio station or references to the radio.
Right.
So they go to the junkyard again. All of Haddonfield is just there. They all show up. They all march down there in the middle of the night, and then they snuff them out. So
and again, so the thing that you talked about in Halloween Kills, mob mentality being awful, now is good because the whole town is there to kill this guy.
It's amazingly bad. I was honestly shocked. I've seen a lot of bad movies, but this one was over the top.
And I know people fucking hate it when I say this.
Go ahead.
But I'm gonna say it.
Say it.
We could have done a better job with this. I have no experience as a screenwriter. I have no experience as a story writer, but I could tell you just based on continuity, based on what we've seen in the first two movies, you can't do that.
No, give us a weekend.
It doesn't make sense.
If you gave us a weekend, so if you and I, even if you gave us Halloween Kills, which wasn't great, if you gave us that, we watched it on a Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
By Sunday night, we would have a movie better. Guaranteed.
And all we have to do is storyboard. If we could storyboard out a story,
yep,
I'm confident that what we could have would be a better movie than this.
Because you're already given Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. Those are characters that people love, and you're already given them to you. You can use those characters.
And you pissed both of them away.
Oh, they're horrible. They were both horrible in this. They were useless. This ended up being more of a Allison Corey story. And Corey, like you mentioned, there's 13 Halloween movies. It's the first one Corey's been in. It's not even a callback to an old character. Oh, by the way, Lindsay, who's one of the Real Housewives of whatever.
Yes. Kyle Richards.
So yeah. Kyle Richards, who's legit the actress from the first one. She's been in the last two movies here. She was just in it, didn't die, nothing.
Yeah, and
how do you bring her back and not smoke her out?
And she was doing these weird things with tarot cards for a second, for a hot second. She kept holding everyone's hands. It
wasn't
super
necessary.
Weird.
None of it was necessary. They didn't kill any character of significance.
Zero. Because
Laurie survived, her granddaughter survived.
Just Corey. That's it. New guy who
new guy. Yeah, new guy. New guys die all the time. Lindsay Wallace, and then even the deputy that was there the first time, they strike up a romance again with Laurie, the deputy Frank Hawkins.
Cherry Blossoms.
He lived too. Cherry Blossom guy. He lived. I mean, it's wild. If you guys happen to like it, great. I'm glad you did. Let us know. dorkpodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter and Instagram @dorkpodcast. I'm curious. Maybe I missed something.
Hang on. If you like this movie, let Rich know. I don't want to fucking hear it. I want to know. Maybe I missed something, but maybe not. I was like, holy shit. Don't be like the fucking contrarian cool guy who's going to come at me and to pretend to like this movie, because if you do, you're a fucking moron. All right. I'm just saying, if we lose listeners because I call the fans of Halloween Ends morons, I don't care.
I don't think there are any fans, but I do want to end on this one real quick. Friend of the show, Jason Rossi, from the Pop Culture Pile Driver Podcast.
Jesus Christ, don't do this.
He's a big horror movie guy. I respect him for that. We would talk about horror movies all the time. And he tweeted this out 2 days ago. Slept on it. Hashtag Halloween Ends was a good enough scary movie.
Shut the fuck up. I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm done.
This week in horrible Rossi takes.
Oh, look at it. He's here. Rossi, you son of a bitch. Rossi, I'm just reading your tweet. You said it was a good enough scary movie. Now, he does follow up, right? He does follow up. He says, it's just not a movie that makes any logical sense for the ending of a timeline the creators made. But I would argue the first
Then it's
part,
not good. Then it's not good.
It wasn't scary. It wasn't scary. I read the rest of your tweet. I read the rest of it. You're right. It, like, timeline wise, it's all jumbled, but I would say there wasn't any. See, you have Michael Myers, and you found a way to make it not even scary. But anyway,
there was nothing scary about this movie.
Nothing. But Rossi's the one that also said to watch Terrifier, and so you said it was good.
Terrifier was good. Terrifier was like
good wreck.
It's fucked up, but it's decent.
Good wreck. Oh man,
good wreck, Rossi.
So we got House of the Dragon wraps up next week. Oh, by the way, we mentioned this before, but if we did a She-Hulk episode as well, so check your downloads. It's in there somewhere. She-Hulk, House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon next week, and I guess Black Adam. Shit, I didn't realize that's coming out so soon.
Yeah, fuck.
And then I want to sprinkle in something else horror related before we wrap up. I don't know what or when, but I want.
We can do a dink. Watch Terrifier on Tubi. Let's do a dink it. Let's dink
Terrifier.
it.
Oh, Rossi. Can we get Rossi in on Terrifier?
Dude, Terrifier. So Terrifier 2 right now is like in theaters and it's killing it. Like it's made like almost $100 million.
I'll watch Terrifier.
Watch Terrifier. I'm interested to talk to you about it.
And if Barbarian's really good, maybe we sneak in a Barbarian.
Yep.
As well. And Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities comes out the 26th, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that'll do it for us. Again, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Dork Podcast. Subscribe and follow, whatever the hell you do for all of those. You can email us dorkpodcast@gmail.com. Any questions, comments, concerns you have, or your should I have bought this. Davey, you don't give a shit about anything, do you?
What'd you say?
I said you don't give a shit about anything, do you?
Not really.